The fluorescent lights flickered as I stood in the kitchen, my back to them, fighting back the tears. "You're wasting your time, Jamie. You'll never make it as a painter." My father's voice cut through the air like a jagged knife. I could still feel the echo of their laughter, stinging in my ears, wrapping around me like a suffocating shroud. My family stood there, their faces twisted with disdain, each comment more cutting than the last, an onslaught of doubt that was supposed to be my foundation. "You're embarrassing us. Get a real job for once." That day, I made a decision. I wouldn't let their scorn be the end of my story. I gathered my things, shoved them into a worn backpack, and stepped out into a world that felt both terrifying and liberating. I left their house and their expectations behind, determined to carve my own path. The road ahead was long and fraught with struggle. I crashed on friends' couches, spent my nights in cramped studios, splattering paint on canvas until my fingers were raw and the smell of turpentine clung to me like a second skin. I painted until dawn, fueled by coffee and the memories of their laughter, the sting of their words. I made sacrifices, nights out, meals missed, friendships strained. I buried myself in art, in the hope that someone, someday, would recognize my work. Slowly, my perseverance bore fruit. I entered every local art show I could find, and while rejection became my constant companion, with each no, I refined my craft. I studied the greats, Van Gogh, Frida Kahlo, the masters who fought against the odds. I learned to embrace the grinding solitude of creation, the thrill of putting my heart into each brushstroke, each splash of color. The years passed, and I found myself in a small gallery in the city, my work finally on display. A piece of me finally recognized. The room buzzed with energy, and whispers of accolades floated through the air. People were drawn to my paintings, their eyes lighting up with the vividness of my expressions, my soul woven into the canvases. I could almost hear my father's voice in the back of my mind, echoing those cruel words, "You'll never make it." But now they only fueled my fire. As I stood among my paintings, a familiar face appeared out of the crowd, someone I hadn't seen in years. It was my sister, Sarah. Her eyes widened in shock as they darted from the vibrant swirls of color to my face. She approached, hesitantly, as if afraid that I might disappear. "Jamie, is that really you?" I nodded, the smile breaking through the walls I'd built to protect myself. "Yeah, it's me." For a moment, we were just siblings again, the years of absence melting away. But the joy was short-lived. I could see her hesitation. She didn't know what to say. The weight of my family's judgment had always loomed large, a specter hanging over our heads, and now it reared back, ready to strike again. Over the next few months, I found my footing. I gained recognition in the art community, my pieces exhibited in galleries across the country. I even secured a contract with a renowned gallery in New York City. My dreams were becoming real, my success tangible. My parents, however, remained distant. Our conversations were stilted, like strangers trying to remember each other. Every time I called home, I felt the heavy silence linger before they spoke, their words barely masking disbelief. Then, one fateful evening, I decided it was time to return home, to the place that had once shunned me. I wanted closure, to confront the people who had tried to extinguish my flame. It was a cool autumn day as I drove up the familiar tree-lined street, my heart pounding with a mixture of anxiety and excitement. Would they see me as the person I had become, or would they still view me through the lens of their past derision? The moment I stepped through the door, the air felt thick with unspoken words. My family was gathered in the living room, and I could see the flicker of recognition in their eyes. They had changed little, a little older, a little wearier, but I had transformed. I was no longer that uncertain kid with paint-stained hands. I was an artist, a creator, someone who had carved a place in the world. "Jamie?" My mother's voice broke through the silence, disbelief written all over her face. I took a breath, steadying myself, and stepped forward. "I'm back," I said, my voice firm. I pulled out my portfolio, my paintings, my life's work. "I wanted you to see what I've accomplished." I laid the pages out before them, vibrant colors spilling across the coffee table, each piece pulsating with the passion and pain of my journey. I watched as their expressions shifted from confusion to realization, and then to something deeper. Shame, perhaps. Their laughter had once echoed in that very room, but now the air was thick with their silence. "Jamie, my father began, but I raised a hand to stop him. "It's okay," I said, feeling a mixture of triumph and pity. "You didn't believe in me, and that hurt. But I found a way to believe in myself." In that moment, I saw the tide of their regret wash over them. They finally understood the weight of their words, the burden they had placed upon my shoulders. And as I stood there, surrounded by my past, I felt lighter than I ever had before. Their world would never fully understand the journey I had taken, the battles I had fought. But in their eyes, I saw the flicker of acceptance, a bridge slowly being built. I didn't need their approval anymore. I had forged my own identity, a masterpiece of resilience, and as I walked away, I felt the echoes of their laughter fade into a distant memory. This was my story, and I was finally the author of my own life.